Bom dia, boa tarde, boa noite, or whatever the case may be. My name is Marcus, and I am the host of the Black Brazil Today YouTube channel, as well as the blackbraziltoday.com blog, where I analyze Brazil from the perspective of race. So the video I want to do a reaction to today is something that I came across maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. I actually had a friend of mine send it to me. And then, after I saw it, then I saw that, it usually this is how it works in social networks. You see it and then everybody starts sharing it. So, within a couple of days, I had seen this video on my timeline several times. And I says, okay, I got to do a reaction to this because, I say this all the time. It's like, when I was saying this 23 years ago, people looked at me like I was crazy, like I was hating. But, over the last decade to 15 years, people have, started coming to the same conclusions that I came across, right? So today, the name of the video is The Problem with Interracial Love. We're very good at producing new rich white people, but we don't produce new rich black people. I think it says everything in that in the name of the title of this video. But let me give it some more context. Let me just get directly into this video, and then I'll share my comments along the way or after I feature the video that I'm talking about. So this brother right here, I don't even know his name. Maybe one day I'll see who it is. I couldn't find out who it was when it came, appeared on my timeline. But this is what he said. I named this the title of this video today based on the comment that he said at the very end of his 4-minute video. So as I usually do, everything that he's talking about has a lot to do with what I talk about. So that's why I like to feature these types of videos. One, it talks about the theory of embranquecimento, where black and brown Brazilians have been encouraged to mix so that 2, 3, 4 generations after, down the line, the descendants of the family become white. This idea of palmitagem, what Brazilians refer to just a predilection to choose white partners for long-term relationships. Large percentage of Black Brazilian men and Black Brazilian women participate in palmitagem. Some people don't like the term, but, that's what they called it. The transfer of Black wealth. This was what, after I discovered just how deep it went with just well-to-do Black people crossing over and finding partners of, the whiter persuasion, we'll say, after I found out how deep that was, it hit me immediately like, how can you guys ever talk about any type of Black power when generation after generation you see this whitening of so many different Black families? It's something that you really have to see to believe. So, which leads to the fourth question: is a Black middle class really possible in Brazil? They talk about a small Black middle class in Brazil, but besides the question of what does it mean to be middle class in Brazil? What part of the country are you talking? Because middle class, the money you earn in, say, Bahia or Pernambuco, that may not be considered, middle class lifestyle in a city like Sao Paulo or Rio. So there's so many variables to take into account here, but I want to get directly into what this guy was talking about. He's responding to something somebody asked him, I guess. It says, so does it have to be a rule that a Black man like a Black woman? I thought that in a relationship, love prevails. And it's something that I've heard over the years, people saying, why are you trying to import this American style segregation to Brazil? We've always mixed, right? And of course, people mix, they choose who they choose. But what I'm saying is when you cross into the point where you're talking about Black identity and you want to see more Black representation in every aspect of Brazilian society, how is that something that you really want to see, but you don't see how generation after generation, those same Black people who were representative 2, 3, 4 generations down the line, they're represented by people with white skin. So what is the whole point of arguing about this if you don't see the necessity of having some unity in the Black community? So I'm going to just overdub what this brother said, and then I'm going to go from there. So this is what he says.
Olha o que o mano
Look
falou
what the
aqui, ó.
brother said here.
Então,
So it has to be
tem
a
que
rule
ser
for Black
regra
men to like
preto
Black women.
gostar de
I
preta.
thought that in a
Tem que ser
relationship, love
que
prevailed,
em
and
um
I agree.
relacionamento
I understand and
prevalecia o
I
amor.
agree
E eu
with you.
concordo,
But let's
eu
do a
entendo
social
e
analysis
concordo com
here.
você.
Let's
Mas vamos
take it
fazer
from
aqui
the
uma análise social.
individual and
Vamos
bring it
tirar
to
do
society
indivíduo
so
e
you can
trazer
see
para a
more or less
sociedade.
how it
Para você ver
works.
mais ou
It's
menos
more or
como que
less like
funciona.
this. what's
mais ou menos
Brazil
assim, ó.
going to be
Como
like
vai
in
ser o
100
Brasil daqui
years
100
time?
anos? O Brasil
Brazil in
daqui 100 anos
100
vai ser
years time
exatamente
is going to
assim.
be
Se você
exactly
pegar
like this.
hoje os brancos,
If you
por
take
exemplo,
white people today, for
se
example,
você pegar a
if you
classe
take the
média
white middle
branca,
class,
os
rich white
ricos
men, they're
brancos, eles
mostly
são
married to white women.
majoritariamente casados
So
com
they don't
mulheres
have this
brancas.
problem of ascension.
Então eles não têm
White
esse
people don't
problema
have this
de
problem. It's
ascensão.
common to
Os
go
brancos não
out
têm
and
esse
see white
problema. É
people. It's
comum você
common.
sair
It's
por
like
aí e
the
você ver
air
branco,
we
branco. É
breathe.
comum. Tipo
If
assim, é
you go to the
igual
Asian
o ar que
community,
nós
it's the same.
respiramos.
I live next
Se
door to
você
the
vai na
Asian community.
comunidade
If you go to the Asian
oriental, é a
community,
mesma
they're
coisa. Eu
extremely
moro do lado da
strong, you
comunidade
know.
oriental. Se você vai
And then
na
if you go to the
comunidade
Arab community,
oriental, eles
it's
são
the
extremamente
same. If you go to
fortes,
the
tá
Jewish
ligado?
community, it's the
E
same.
aí, se você
Jew is
vai na
Jew,
comunidade
and we think it's
árabe, é a
beautiful.
mesma coisa. Se
All
você vai na
ethnic
comunidade
groups,
judia,
all
é a
ethnic
mesma
groups,
coisa.
except for
Judeu com
blacks,
judeu,
do
a gente
this.
acha
So,
lindo.
so for
Todas as
example, in
etnias,
100 years'
todas as
time, you have all the
etnias,
extremely strong communities
exceto
except the
os
black
negros,
community. In
fazem
100
isso.
years' time, the black community
Então,
will
por
be
exemplo,
talking
daqui
about
100
quotas.
anos,
They'll be
você vai
saying
ter todas
that's
essas
because black
comunidades
people
extremamente
suffered when they were
fortes, menos
slaves.
a negra.
That's why we're
A
in this
comunidade
ish,
negra daqui
because
100,
white
100
people
anos
effed
vai
us
estar
over.
falando de
That's why
cotas.
we don't
Vai
have
estar falando,
quotas.
ai, porque
We'll be
o
saying the
negro
same
sofreu
thing we're
quando foi
saying today. It won't
escravo.
evolve
Ai, a
at
gente
all.
tá na merda porque os
100
brancos
years
fazem
from
com a
now, it'll be
gente.
exactly the
Ai,
same. And
porque a
why,
gente não
bro?
tem cota e a gente
Because
vai se...
how
Tipo,
does
tá falando a
development
mesma coisa que
work
a
in
gente
the
tá
black
falando hoje, não vai
community?
evoluir
It works
nada.
like this.
Daqui
There's a lot
100
of
anos
social
vai
proof to
estar
show you. It's more or
exatamente a
less
mesma
like this.
coisa. E por
Me,
quê, mano?
for
Porque
example,
assim,
I'm here.
como que funciona
It's
na
the case with the
comunidade
white woman.
negra
There's
o
no problem with that.
desenvolvimento?
There
Ele
really
funciona assim.
isn't. What counts as
Tem um
love,
monte de
but
prova
let's
aí,
talk
social, pra te
socially.
mostrar. É mais ou
I
menos
went
assim, ó.
there, and 90% of
Você
black
vai.
people who
Eu,
ascend
por exemplo,
socially,
eu tô aqui, é o
90%
caso
or
com uma
more
mulher
do
branca.
this.
Não
I
tem, não tem
ascended
problema
socially. I
nenhum
have
com
an
isso. Não
inheritance.
tem mesmo.
Then I marry a
O que
white
vale
woman.
é o
My
amor,
son
mas vamos
comes
falar
out brown.
socialmente.
Then my son,
Fui
he's gonna
lá
marry a white woman
e
because he's going
90%
to
dos
repeat
negros que ascendem
everything I'm
socialmente,
doing.
90 para mais,
That's the natural
fazem isso.
process. He's going to
Ascendi
marry a white
socialmente,
woman. My grandson is going to
tem
be
uma
white. Like
herança, aí eu
who?
caso com uma mulher
Rapper
branca.
Emy
Meu filho
Ceda
vem
is
pago.
like that.
Aí
If
meu
you look,
filho,
if you
ele
look at
vai
rapper
casar com uma
Pro
mulher branca,
Jota,
porque ele vai
he's like
repetir
that,
tudo que eu tô
among
fazendo.
others.
É
Singer
esse o
Leo
processo
Santana
natural.
will be.
Ele vai casar com
All
uma
black
branca.
people
Meu
are
neto
like
vai ser
that.
branco. Estilo quem?
And what happens?
Emy
We
Ceda
don't
é
generate
assim,
black
se
heirs.
você
We
for
don't
ver.
generate
Se
black men
você
and
for
women in
ver, o
Brazil who are
Projota é assim,
heirs.
entre outros.
If you
Léo
go to
Santana,
college, a
mas
good college,
todos
there's
os
no
pretos são assim.
blacks. There are
E o
no
que
blacks just because
acontece?
the country
A
is
gente não
racist and
gera
such.
preto
There are no blacks
herdeiro. Não
because we
se
don't
gera
produce
homens e
black
mulheres
heirs. There
pretas no
are
Brasil
none.
herdeira. Se você vai numa faculdade, num
It's not
colégio
like the
foda, não
United
tem
States
preto.
where
Não
Beyonce
tem
married
preto
JayZ.
somente
The
porque
children
o
are
pai é
black and will be
racista e
taught
tal.
to
Não tem
marry
preto porque a
black,
gente não
and there will be a
produz negros
dynasty. It
herdeiros.
doesn't
Não tem.
exist in
Não
Brazil
é igual
and
os Estados
never will
Unidos, que a
because
Beyoncé
we
casou
always
com
think
JayZ
of
e os filhos são
love,
pretos e vão ser
love.
ensinados a casar com preto. E
So
vai ter
let's
uma
talk about the love
dinastia.
of
Não
the
existe
black
no
man,
Brasil.
of the black
E
man
nunca
when
vai
he
existir.
ascends socially
Porque
for
a gente
white
sempre vai
women.
pensar
Let's talk about the love of
o
this
amor.
black
Então vamos
man.
falar do
Why is
amor
this
do
love
preto, do
of
homem
this black
preto, quando
man
assim socialmente, pelas
peculiar?
brancas. Vamos falar
Why?
do amor desse socialmente.
Football player
Porque esse amor desse
Eder
preto é peculiar.
Militão
Por
is an
quê?
example of this. So
Você pega o Éder
I
Militão é um
love
exemplo
my
disso.
blonde. I
Aí
love her, I love her, I
minha
love
loira,
her.
eu amo, e aí vai lá, faz um
And there he
filho,
goes, makes a
trai
son,
pra
he cheats like
caralho,
an
e
MF,
aí
and
larga a
then
mina de
dumps the
qualquer
girl
jeito.
anyway.
Não
He
ama.
doesn't love her.
Pega esse
Do you
monte de
understand
preto
what it
assim
is, bro?
socialmente,
She's
não te
just the
ama, não
trophy,
ama,
just the
parça.
stamp of
Tá entendendo
ascension.
qual é que é, mano?
I've
É
ascended
só o
socially. I'm cool.
troféu,
Look
é
at my
só o
blonde. Look at my white
carimbo de
woman. Look how pretty
ascensão.
she is.
Eu ascendi
Look how white she
socialmente, eu
is.
sou foda,
That's
olha minha
my
loira,
ascension. Do
olha
you
minha
understand what the
branca,
difference
olha
is with
como
the
ela é
black
bonita, olha como ela é
population?
branca.
In 100 years' time,
Isso é a minha
brother,
ascensão.
100 years' time,
Entende
we're
qual
going
é
to
que
be
é a
fighting for
diferença da população
quotas.
preta? Então,
We'll
daqui
be
100
debating the
anos,
same
irmão,
things.
100 anos
All
vamos
the
estar lutando por
communities will be
cota.
effed
A
in
gente vai estar
Brazil,
debatendo as
rich and,
mesmas coisas.
dominating
Todas as
Brazil.
comunidades vão estar
Black people
foda no
still
Brasil,
talking
rica
about quotas 100
sabe assim,
years
ó,
from now.
dominando o
Why,
Brasil, o
bro?
preto falando de
Because we
cota
don't
ainda.
go
Daqui
beyond this
100 anos.
ceiling here.
Por quê, mano? Porque a
We're
gente não
very
passa
good
desse
at
teto aqui,
producing
ó.
new
A
rich
gente é
white
muito
people,
bom
but we
em
don't produce
produzir
new
novos
rich black
brancos ricos,
people.
mas a gente não produz
That's
novos pretos
what's
ricos.
effed
Esse é
up.
o foda.
Well, I couldn't say it much better myself. as I said years ago, people would have looked at me like, and I say it all the time, people looked at me like I'm the racist American because I looked around and I'm just like, wow, why is it that it seem like every black man in this country who has money always has to marry somebody white, or at least what we'll call Brazilian white, that type of white look that's not necessarily white in other countries in the world, but black in Brazil and Latin, I mean, white in Brazil and white in Latin America, because, the concept of whiteness in Latin America, the border is a lot wider than it is in the United States. But let's just talk about a few things that he brought up. Um, I said I had some when I lived in Sao Paulo. Somebody said this to me. He noticed that he was like, "Have you ever the Japanese population in Brazil? They say it's the largest Japanese population outside of Japan. I don't know how many Japanese people live in Brazil, but I was I was sitting in a hair salon one day, and a guy said to me, he was like, "Do you notice how the Japanese people have a network of people that they deal with? They have if they've got." a Japanese, hair salon, and the Japanese hair salon works with a Japanese construction guy, who works with a Japanese guy who works in the real estate business, and that Japanese guy works with a guy, works with a Japanese guy who's the owner of a supermarket or something. And they have this network going. He was like, how come Black Brazilians, how come we can't do that? And he had, that's the question that he asked. So it's a very good point that the guy made in the video, because it's something that we've been talking about for years. Like, every community sees it as, hey, we have to look out for each other. But Black people, we have this obsession with being accepted by other people outside of our community. Why is that? I mean, it's cool to have good relationships with people outside of the community, but if you don't look out for your community, who will? Because other groups are busy taking care of their own communities, right? So this is what he's saying. Over 100 years are going to pass, and Black Brazilians are still going to say, why are we in this victim situation? Now, he brought up a number of entertainers, and this goes beyond entertainers. They don't have to be entertainers. When I look at just well-to-do Black men, very rarely do you see them marry clearly Black women. He mentioned the rapper Emy Ceda, for example. Emy Ceda is one of the most well-known rappers in Brazil. He was nominated for a BET award in 2021. He was a very highly successful documentary that he did some years ago about Brazil's Black social movements. Let me see what else. He has his own clothing brand. So, Emy Ceda, some people were saying, he's Brazil's JayZ. I don't know about all of that. But he said something in 2015 that I found intriguing, because he talked about how if Brazil applauds race mixing or miscegenation when the skin lightens, but when it darkens, it condemns it. Now, what's intriguing about that is, some years ago on Facebook, I just saw people were blasting Emy Ceda when he posted a picture of himself with his girlfriend, who they judged to be a white woman. Now, to me, okay, if I had to call it, she doesn't look white. She looks like Brazilian white. She looks like a white woman who has some mixture going on there. In the United States, she would be eliminated from being white, but in Brazil, she can be considered white, and people crucified him online for that. The guy, this rapper Jola, now I don't know much about Jola. I know he appeared on Big Brother Brazil. I think it was season 21 or so. And I remember what he said. He was having a discussion with one of the other Black guys on the show, and they were talking about organizing, like, how can we get all Black people on Big Brother Brazil, right? And so he was talking about, if we did this and we did that, then people will vote all of the white people off of the show, and we'll just have an all Black final. And the guy said, Pro Jola said, look, my mother is white, my daughter is white. I can't support Black unity. Mixed race rappers comments evidence a dilemma in Brazil's Black struggle. And the point is, when you have people who are of mixed race, they're going to eventually, it's like, okay, you're going to choose one side or the other. And apparently, just from his comments, this is the guy he was having a conversation with. And he was just like, dude, I can't do that. And the point was, it was like, okay, he married white. His daughter is white. His mother is white. And he just couldn't see being down with the cause. Okay. And I'm saying that's ultimately, when people are of mixed race, that's a decision that they have to make. Sometimes they have nothing to do with Black politics, right? Then he mentioned singer Leo Santana. Leo Santana is a popular singer in Bahia. He was criticized some years ago for doing a Carnaval type of promotion. And in a state like Bahia that's known for a strong Black presence, some would say a majority Black presence, he did a promotional video and it had mostly white women in it. It's like, how are you a Black artist and you got nothing but white women in the promotional video, right? Then he mentioned this other soccer player named Éder Militão. And Éder Militão, he's one of the guys. I did this, I think it was about, I think I did this video actually about 3 weeks ago. I hadn't posted it, so that's why I say it's February 5th. But it talked about the Brazilian soccer players who play over in Europe and their estimated value if they were to be transferred to another team. And two Brazilians were in the top 5, and then there were 9 other Brazilians in the top 100. And all of these, most of the players look Black, or some people say, they're mixed, they're mulattoes or whatever, they're morenos. This is Éder Militão. So then, I saw a picture in the article that I did today. Just, okay, what does the mother of his children look like? I mean, take a guess. So then it becomes a question of this Black wealth question. Successful Black men celebrate their Black pride and consciousness, but when it's time to marry, it is his whitened family who will inherit his estate. This is a piece from 2019. This article Is the skin color of one's partner a random choice? This is just another article I did. We just had all of these successful black men. And again, I'm going to say a lot of these women may not be considered white in the United States, but in Brazil, they're considered white. And you see the child come out and they lean heavily towards what the mother looks like, right? What else do we have here? Let me see. Okay, so that's something I just talked about. And that's one article. That's an article that I already talked about as well. So that's what the whole point of this article is. This guy is saying out loud, like, look, and I said, let me just one other thing I want to just mention before I close this video. I was in Sao Paulo. I lived there for 9 years, and I remember one of the most important men in Brazil, as far as helping Black people attain college education, is this guy named Frei Davi. He's the head of this NGO called Educafro. It's a mix of the words education and Afro. So Educafro. He's done a lot for helping thousands of poor and Black Brazilians get to college, right? I was having a discussion with him and 3 other guys. You know, we had met inside the building, and then we hung outside the building for like 2 hours just talking in the street. And they were just talking about Black this and Black this and Black that and Black that. And I was just like, dude, y'all can never really have true Black middle class here. And everybody turned and looked at me like, why are you saying that? And I says, because too many of you mix. After two to three generations, everything you fought for, the first Black person to get to college, you got a great job, you live in a great neighborhood, but you married white, your mixed children married white, and then they married white. Their children of the mixed people married white. So after a couple of generations, it's like you didn't exist. None of them, there was 4 or 5 of us standing there. None of it, all of them went back to talking as if I had never said nothing. It was like nobody wanted to deal with the comment that I made. And we see this all the time. You know, white Brazilians point this out from time to time. And it's just like, okay, look, I've had people comment on the YouTube channel saying, look, we're going to mix and it's going to always be mixed. Ain't nothing you can do about that. I'm like, I'm not trying to do nothing about it. Ain't nothing I can do about that. That's the choice. All I'm saying is, look, if you're trying to improve the community, you can't do it. You can't complain about the racism you get from white Brazilians and then turn around and just give everything back to the community that you complain about. It makes no sense. Right. So anyway, that's why I wanted to just talk about this video today, because this brother, he was really feeling what he was talking about. And I was just like, okay, I'm gonna just step back and let this guy talk, because I said this when I first started going to Brazil, like, man, you know, this is the project of embranquecimento, the whitening project that says we are going to whiten this population with every Black family here mixing. And after 2 to 3 to 4 generations, however long it's going to take, we're going to be at least what they call Brazilian white. So anyway, what did you think of today's video? Like I said, I knew I had to do something with it because, you know, you still got a lot of people who don't get this message. And I'm like, I don't know what's so hard to understand about this. So anyway, what did you think about the video? Drop a comment in the comment section, like this video, you know, share this video, subscribe to the channel, click on that notification bell so you'll know when I put up another video. And with that said, I'm going to end the video here and ask that you all come back and check out the next video that I post.